Hi everyone, this is Serge and Corjan,
Hi there.
and we're here with exciting news. We have a great update on MyRoute-app, and it's all about track navigation. Um, let's dive into that and show some information and share some information. First off, make sure you understand the difference between a route and a track. And for that, we share a screen and have you look at a example of a route, because if you're planning your routes in MyRoute-app, the name itself is a little bit telling in that sense. A route exists of route points. It has to have a finish and a start point, and in between there's points that you want to visit, or maybe points that you have selected because you want to ride on that particular road. In MyRoute-app, we have two versions. We have a via point. Those are the hand-shaped symbols on the map. And we have shaping points, and those are the droplets. I always call them droplets, the blue droplets, that are only there to make you ride over that particular road. And if you send a route to any navigation device, it actually sends a GPX file with the coordinates of those route points. And then your navigation device will then make a route based on the settings in the navigation system. So it could be fastest, could be shortest, could be most curvy. And that may result in differences between what you planned on the computer and what you actually see on your device on the bike, especially if you drive with more than one person and both have different systems. It may very well differ a little bit. So experts say use a track. A track only has two waypoints, a start and a finish. And between those, there's a line, and you can see it's drawn on the map. And that's the way your sat-nav will also uses it. It will only follow the drawn line on the map. It doesn't make any calculations. So settings like fastest or curviest doesn't make any difference. It will just follow the chalk line on the road or on the map in this case.
Yeah, so traditionally at MyRoute-app, we're not too fond of using tracks as navigation because we want to add a lot of fun information. We want those colors for your waypoints. We want you to add notes, add descriptions, so that when you drive past a nice castle, your infotainment system will read out the note you, for example, put in that waypoint. We want you to have an adventure and not just ride a route.
And sometimes the viewpoint that you may want to stop at is not exactly on the track that you're riding, and you need to be alarmed. Hey, take a look to the left to don't miss a waterfall if you're driving in the Highlands, for example. So we have a little bit of a love-hate relationship with track navigation, but many of the users receive tracks, for example, if they go on an organized ride.
Yeah.
And the organizer or the trip organizer or the holiday company that you ride with only provides you with a track. And before, dealing with tracks in MyRoute-app navigation was not a great experience.
No.
So what did you do to fix that?
Yeah, so let's just start off with illustrating the issue. So over here we have my routes. And I'll just click upload, I'll select route track, and I'll just import a nice trip that I received from a tour operator. So this route is now imported into my MyRoute-app. I'll have then there's a track, and I'll open it, and then you'll see, just as Serge explained, right? So we now only have the start point, we have the finish point, and we have all the breadcrumbs in between are added, and that creates the blue line. So what we see now is a very pretty route, but we don't have any information about it. And if I now open this in MyRoute-app Navigation Next, as you will see on the right, you will have the exact same route.
Shape. Yeah, it's the shape you can see is similar.
But this is not different from the previous versions of the app, because this already worked. The only biggest issue with the app regarding track navigation was that, one, it didn't work offline, and two, you couldn't resume the track anywhere you wanted. So if you'd stop the navigation while driving, you wouldn't have the option to resume in the middle or anywhere else. And if you deviate from the route, there were some hidden points that you had to pass. So if you'd never passed those, you would be constantly sent back on the track to resume from there. But you had no clue as user. And the bigger issue in this whole picture is that some users never actually realized they were navigating a track. So they would just get that file from a tour operator, import it in MyRoute-app, and drive. And then the experience would be, well, rather suboptimal, rather disappointing, or insert any other word you'd like. And that was a big issue for us. So we've done a lot of stuff under the hood, and this can already be illustrated in this screen. So in this screen, you see just before starting the navigation, you can now long press anywhere near the track to recalculate from there. So I just long pressed near Hooghalen, which is a very English word. But if I now move over here, we see this little town here, and I long press near there, you'll see the app will calculate the fastest route from where you are now to the point you just selected and resume the track from there. So it's not very impressive while we're sitting still behind our computer recording the video, but you have to understand that this concept changes track navigation completely. So if I now press start, the navigation will simply go and calculate the route, and you'll see the original line next to the calculated route. So if at any point I actually do want to drive this part, I'll just long press near Amen, and it recalculates, and you'll see that the fastest route is calculated to that little village, and the rest of the track is navigated after that. And if I now stop the navigation and I just have a beer, have lunch, whatsoever, and I press navigate again to resume the navigation, it will actually resume the navigation doing exactly what you were doing before, just like with routes. So we are now able to drive a track as if it's a route, really, with all the benefits of it as well.
And none of the limitations that were there before.
Exactly.
And that's actually the most important thing, because sometimes people were using MyRoute-app for the first time, they received a GPX file. Okay, the word GPX sounds great, but the GPX didn't consist of a route and a track, only consisted of a track. And then the experience was, it doesn't work as great for me as I was hoping, especially in areas where cell coverage is not ideal. Think Scottish Highlands, think Alps, think somewhere else abroad if you don't have international roaming on your mobile device.
Exactly.
So did you fix that as well?
Yeah, so if we now enable the offline navigation, right? So we're in a area with bad cell phone coverage, so I just proactively activate offline navigation. This means that the app, as soon as you start navigating, is not allowed to use internet. So I'll just generate a round trip. So I'm not using the route I just got from the tour operator, but I'm just generating a whole different round trip. So here it is, quite a nice scenic route. And I press start. And the thing that you immediately see is a warning. It says offline navigation enabled, go online for more accurate track navigation. So the issue is that track navigation consists of all those breadcrumbs it needs to use to calculate a route. If you're offline, the engine that calculates the route is not as powerful as it is when you're online. So this is the limitation that we're talking about with our supplier here, in order to see if that can be fixed in the future. But for now, we have to approximate the calculated route when you're offline. But the nice thing is that the original route will always be displayed. So you always see this white line that will indicate how you actually planned it, or in this case, how it was generated. And the blue line tells you how it's actually used. So the problem now is that you won't ever be able to drive this as planned because you're offline, but you do still see what happens. But if I now disable the offline navigation, so we're back online, and I'll get a phone call, and then you'll see that the navigation is now sent exactly over the planned route. So we don't see any differences between the white route or the blue route. So this means that the track is now 100% correct, or if you'd like to say that. So this immediately allows me to illustrate another nice new setting. So if I go to my functional settings again, and I'll enable the offline navigation, and I'll disable the automatic recalculations. So this now becomes a lot of fun. So here you can see the difference between the calculated route and the generated route. So we want to drive the white line, but the app is only capable of calculating the blue line. So if I now turn right at this intersection here, I will actually deviate from the calculated route.
Following the white line visually. So
Exactly.
ignoring the blue line's instructions, because that's turn-by-turn navigation instructions. But you see the white line and you go like, yeah, I want to keep the original generated route,
Yeah,
or track in this case, and you just deviate. So you take the right and you go into the white marked street on your map.
and because you disabled the automatic recalculations, the app won't do anything. It will just give you a notice like, okay, it's disabled. So you might want to pay attention to how you're driving because we won't help you anymore. And as soon as you'd rejoin the calculated route, which would be here, it will then say, okay, welcome back. Now I can give you further instructions.
And this comes into play as well when you have, for example, a restaurant that's not directly on the track. So now we're looking at an example between the difference between calculated and generated tracks. But you can also deviate from the blue line because you see something that you didn't originally plan on visiting, a castle in the distance that you want to check out, or a restaurant or a gas station that you want to visit because you're running low on fuel. With automatic recalculations switched off, the app will keep your original blue line unaffected. You can go wherever you want to go. You visually drive back to your blue line. As soon as you're back on the blue line, turn-by-turn navigation is resumed, and you can just follow the blue line as before, yes, which is a great, great improvement.
So now jumping back to track navigation in general. So if we take a look here on the left again, we have that nice route. So we were actually driving this one, but we also have this route, which is the original one that I based the track sent by my tour operator upon. So if I now open this last route in the app, as you can see now, you see that we have 14 waypoints. It's 110 kilometers. And if I press navigate, it will open as a route, which is fun. And I press start, and everything seems the same, but it's not really, because there is a nice setting. It's here. I cannot currently change them because you're not allowed to while navigating, which is nicely explained in the notice. But if you enable the setting navigate routes as tracks, as it currently is actually, you will drive the route as you planned it, but you're actually driving it as a track. So this whole update isn't designed to do this because, well, it's an update to ensure that track navigation works best as possible. It's not made for you to drive routes as a track, but you are now able to actually do that, which is just a lot of fun if you're a fan of track navigation. So remember, with track navigation, we were able to long press near the route anywhere. So I'll just do that right here at Fries. So I'll long press there, and you'll see that the fastest route is calculated to that point, and from there the track is resumed. But the additional information that we have from the route is still preserved. So you'll now see that apparently the upcoming waypoint on that track would be waypoint 6. And I can now actually choose to skip waypoint 6 and go to waypoint 7. So instead of manually long pressing everywhere along the track to resume at a certain point, I can now just skip waypoints and let the system determine where on the track to resume from. And then I can skip 7 again and go back, and then it will go to 8. And if I long press point 3, I will actually resume from point 3, and it will take the rest of the track along. And you'll now see that the only point that is missed is point 2. And with this, also the same logic works. So if I stop navigation at a restaurant or whatsoever, and then I resume it, there we go, it will actually resume also from point 3. And this is amazing. You're not even noticing the difference between, well, driving a route or driving a track.
And this is actually a great point because new riders may not realize whether they are using a track or a route as a basis for their trip. And with this update, you eliminated almost all possible faults that a rider could either make or suffer from choosing the wrong type of navigation setting.
Exactly. The settings may seem complicated, but they're now designed to ensure that whatever you choose, the result is good.
Yes, and that's actually a great benefit, and it's a great benefit over other platforms and hardware systems as well, because anybody that has driven a track and deviated from the track on some of the hardware devices knows that then the recalculation may take them back to the start real quick.
Exactly.
And although you may be drinking beer real early in the day, most of us set out for a nice round trip and don't want to be back at the hotel at 10.
So then there's really one more setting I'd like to show you. So there's the use all waypoints button now in the very bottom part of the screen, and I can actually disable that. So now I'm still navigating routes as track, as that's enabled, but I'm not using all waypoints. Now, what does that mean? That's explained in the pop-up. So we're now only showing the via points.
And via points are the points that we call hard route points that you need to visit, like a lunch location or that viewpoint that you didn't want to miss.
So now you can actually see the difference on the left part of the screen and the right part. So left, you can see all 14 waypoints, and right, you just see a few because you're only seeing the via points, the hands. And the cool thing
typically the most important points.
Exactly. So the nice thing is if I now start navigation, I have a very clean look. I don't see a lot of shaping points. I just see my stops. And the fun thing is as well, so now I'm driving to point 3, but if I want to skip point 3 and go to point 6, I just say skip. Yes. And there we go. We're going straight to point 6. But if I don't like that, well, then again, I just press waypoint 3 and then we're going to waypoint 3. But I might want to rejoin at some point of the track. Well, then I just go at a point on the track, long press near the line. There we go. And then we get the fastest route to the place I just long pressed. And from there, it will resume the track. And this is amazing as well. So we can just now see the waypoints, for example. So we got point 3, we got point 6, we got point 11. And we're just seeing the via points, right? So I can now long press 11. And there we go. Quickest route to point 11 and back. Well, route at point 11 is not that interesting. So we're just going back and forth. So then there's a lack of shaping points, right? So if I enable the option use all waypoints, I would actually now be able to select a shaping point. But I'm not able to do that, but I'm still able to long press near the track, for example, there, and it will calculate a nice route passing through those points.
And another benefit of having this option is that when you receive a GPX file from somebody, and they say, oh, this is a great round trip. This is a round trip on your screen, but you live near the north part of this round trip. So you want to actually start your day trip at point 6. You can then just follow the track on your way south, and then on the start, you finish here on the last waypoint, I think it's 14, and then you restart your round trip back up. So you don't even have to change the round trip on your computer. You can just use the GPX directly sent to you from your friend on WhatsApp. You can open it on MyRoute-app and you can fix it on your phone screen. No hassle, no fuss.
And also quite fun, if we now go back to the office, so we actually live quite far from the office nowadays, and if I generate a nice scenic route to the office, it's 9 hours. So
that's a little bit long for a commute.
That's a long for a commute. But the fun thing now is in this scenic route I just generated, I can just skip a whole part. So I'm like, yeah, I want to go by the water. So I'll just resume right there. So I long press that point on the map. And then you can see it's now 4 hours and 40 minutes. Still a bit long. So I'll just select this point near the water. Calculate. And there we go. So now we've got 4 hours and 15 minutes, and we have a nice scenic route to the office. So so track navigation has changed beyond imagination. So in this update, really, so update 4.3.4 is available since this weekend for all users. And really, in all summary, we've just completely revamped track navigation. Everything you believed would be possible is now possible, works offline, you can resume from wherever you want. You can even drive your routes as a track while keeping all that nice information present.
Doesn't make a difference if you leave the track to go do something else.
Exactly.
Or stop your navigation entirely because you switch off your phone when you leave the bike.
But most importantly, really, if you don't know the difference between track navigation or route navigation,
your experience will still be gold.
Exactly. And that's what we're all about by MyRoute-app. So thank you very much for listening. Thanks for all your attention. We will probably not be working as hard because we're heading into the holiday season as well, but I think we deserved it a bit.
Yeah, and just chime in on the forum. If you have experiences and you want to tell us how great it is, or maybe you find something that could still be a little bit improved, find us on the forum. And we enjoy riding with MyRoute-app, and we hope you do too. See us next time.
Thanks very much for listening.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and have great holidays. See you soon.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.